Growing up was kind of tough. We didn't have a lot of money. It was myself, my brother, and my mom was a single mom from the age of 6. So I was kind of had to grow up fast. I was just kind of thrown into, doing the typical big brother stuff at an early age, taking care of my brother after school, walking him home. So there was no time to really be a kid. There was just other priorities involved, right? And so that kind of affected me to this day to be a little bit more responsible, I think, at an early age, and to want a little bit more and to drive a little bit harder. There'll be time for fun when I retire. Being a new dad now, I mean, my daughter's not even a year old yet. I now know what my mother was kind of going through, and to have 2 young boys that used to fight a lot could be stressful. I get it, and she did well under the circumstances. So that kind of drives me to want more out of life, to be a better person, and especially now, like I said, being a dad, you view the world in a whole new way. Suddenly things are just that little shade different. Definitely have bettered our surroundings from where I grew up. It was kind of a rough neighborhood. Um, my mother was on welfare. Going back to school, trying to better educate herself to become a teacher. Then accounting. Kind of got her again after that, and she's still in accounting today. But again, growing up with helping to raise my brother, that's really tough there. I mean, having such a limited budget. My mother did extremely well, and I solely put that on her financial skills, her ability to budget and manage her wants. I mean, I remember eating tuna and Kraft dinner 6 nights a week, and that 7th night sometimes my brother and I got to go to McDonald's across the street and get a Happy Meal. My mother would sit there and watch us eat it, and she'd come back home and cook herself pasta because there just wasn't enough money for everyone. And the struggles that she got us through really made me who I am, and made me strive to get out there and teach more people about the little things that you can do to change your lives. A little bit of planning, a little bit of self-control goes a long way. I mean, I solely believe that if the Canadian education system actually taught people this stuff in school, because they certainly can't learn it from home if they're in that type of situation. I mean, there's no fault there. But it's up to the education system to kind of step in and give some basic groundwork. A lot of people could go a lot further. Maybe you would see a reduction in crime and violence and drug dependencies and mental dependencies. It's a lot of hard work, but with some basic skills, I think it's doable for a lot more people than are achieving it today. I started doing my own personal tax return at about 14. I had my first job. I got a T4, and I decided to learn how to do a tax return. Actually, my mother helped me. I found it quite easy, to be honest. So during high school, when some of my other friends got part-time jobs, I started helping them do personal tax returns, and just from trial and error in my own situation, trying to figure out personal finances and learning, just sharing it with friends. That sort of built into sort of a hobby where I would do some tax returns for some people for a little bit of money. And as I was frustrated in the construction industry, which is what I entered right out of high school, I just decided to turn to what came easy to me, what I actually like doing, and started offering my accounting services. I went back to school to learn accounting. I started helping my mother in her own business. She's been in accounting for a lot of years. She started her own business when I was a teenager. She's kind of the old school bookkeeper where she just wants to go to clients and make a decent amount of money and pay her bills, and that's fine. Whereas I was younger and more ambitious and saw a giant need in financial education, because the public school system doesn't put any emphasis on it at all. So I think that's a real lacking skill in the world today, especially in Canada. And I was good at it, so I wanted to make a difference, strike out on my own, help as many people as I can, grow a team, and really do something worthwhile for the Canadian economy. The very base of it was a couple of small clients that I attracted when I was still working with my mother. One of them was a good friend of mine I've known since early high school. That was the start of the income. I also then applied to a program which is now called Futurepreneur, and I got some funding there for young adults. I was 29. So I qualified for their program. I had to write a business plan and go in front of a panel and basically justify my business plan in front of some other business experts from the community, which was very valuable. That also got me into BDC, so BDC matched those funds. So it was a great program to start. I highly suggest anybody thinking about starting a business, check it out. That, along with the business plan and the drive to get out there and network and meet some new small business owners, was enough to launch me forward and get me off the ground and buy the necessary tools that I needed, to start generating some income. You need grit, you need balls, you need a want. You have to want it. If you don't want it bad enough, you're not going to succeed. You have to really be honest with yourself. Dig down, think about it. And some people are just not meant to be business owners. Some people are not meant to be entrepreneurs. Some people are meant to be really great at what they do in an employee setting, which I think is phenomenal. The majority of the world is, and the majority of the world does fall into that category. Sometimes I'm a little bit jealous of them because it is kind of stressful running a business, but there are some rewards too, right? And some people are just meant to be. I'm one of those people that are just meant to be doing this. So honesty, is the most important thing that you can have with yourself. Really think about the pros and cons. Grass isn't always greener on the other side. Figure out if it's really for you. And sometimes the best way to do that is to try it, fail, and say, cool, I did it, I tried it, not for me. I'm going back to what's better for me and my lifestyle, my family. They probably don't. If you have any doubt right now, it's tough. You have to want it really bad. You have to want to get up at 5 a.m. You have to want to, do things after work. You have to sacrifice your health, sacrifice your friends, sacrifice a lot. Going to parties. I mean, either you throw yourself into it and really get out there and do it, or if those things are maybe more important to you, and some people they are, and that's fine. Maybe you would think twice about starting a business. But if you really want it bad enough, you'll do those things gladly. It's a tough question. I mean, the experiences that I have made me who I am and where I am today. My personality is, get there a little bit sooner, maybe. Stop doubting myself. However, some of the doubts might have held me back from some major catastrophes, so it's really tough to say. I'm just glad I got out there and did it and tried it. Hire slow, fire fast. I think that goes back down to your want. You know, just keep grinding, keep pushing forward. There needs to be this fine balance between drive and holding back and planning. It's a real fine line, and sometimes you end up on either side of it, but as long as you're quick enough to realize that maybe you've gone a little bit too far, or maybe you haven't gone far enough sometimes, and put yourself back to kind of neutral, and just keep going forward and keep learning. First thing you should have is a plan. Figure out some kind of a marketing strategy, figure out some kind of a budget, at the very least. Get out there and just start talking to people. I mean, plans change. It never, ever, ever goes according to plan, but you have to get out there and start somewhere. You know, these days with a smartphone, I mean, you could do almost anything. You know, we're recording this on a smartphone right now. How's that? It's working better than this laptop and fancy mic that we have. So, you know, you don't need a lot these days. Like I said, just start with a plan. Get a cell phone if you don't already have a cell phone, and like I said, go out there and talk to people.